that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, another special expansion review. And today I'm very excited to be checking out Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement from Daisgami Publishing. It is for 2 to 8 players, ages 10 and up, and it'll take you about 5 to 15 minutes per player to play. And Cash is King is the expansion to the worker placement game called, well, Worker Placement, where you're going to be putting workers in various different jobs because you're going to be running a temp agency. So what does the new expansion add? Well, it adds more players, it adds more cards, it adds buildings and some other various things. But is it good? Let's open it up and check it out. Alrighty, and we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement on our handy-dandy grip mat, which turns every game into a space game. So before we get started, I do want to mention this is just the expansion stuff that you're going to be seeing here. If you want to play the base, you can't use the expansion stuff to play its own game. You have to have worker placement in order to play Cash is King because it is an expansion. So now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go over what you're going to get with the expansion. So the first big thing you're going to get in the expansion is it's going to allow you to now, instead of playing 2 to 5 players, to play 2 to 8 players. So let's get out the essential stuff that you're going to need. You're going to get more thumb cards here. So this is going to be for 6 players, 7 players, and 8 players. These are obviously essential. And once again, you're going to get more components for more players. The different things, the money track, the thumb track, the meeple, all that sort of stuff. Essential stuff that you're going to need in order to play 6, 7, and 8 players. Also, you're going to be getting more blank cards. You're going to be getting blank cards, which for buildings, which are a new addition to the game we'll get into next. And management cards. I personally don't use these, but I like the fact they're there if you want to customize your game. So next, handy dandy rule sheet. It is 1 page, half of a page, double-sided, full color. There's nothing too groundbreaking and new in this game that they're adding here, aside from the buildings, which we'll get into, that will change things drastically, but they're not really introducing too many new mechanics. So this does its job pretty well, and it's short, sweet, and to the point. So more of what you already know from the original game. You're going to get more employees, and as you can tell, nothing too spectacular here. I think the most is 2 cubes. And it retains the same humor from the original game, which was a big selling point for me for the original game. Next, you're going to get more skill cube cards, and this is where they're going to add a new thing. Because what? Double skills? Yeah, they're going to add double skills, which will make completing jobs a little bit easier. So depending on whether you think they're easy or not, that'll make them more simple. Next, you're going to get more jobs. You're going to get a lot of jobs. Once again, they retain the same humor. I was a little bit disappointed that there's nothing huge. They tend to be in the 5, 6, 7 range, which means they're bigger jobs, but there's no huge jobs in there, but just more of the same, more jobs, more humor, which is always a good thing. So let's get down to the new things in the game. Obviously, I mentioned that we had the double cubes here, which is new, but moving on to the other 2 big new things are contract exclusive. This is essentially, you're going to be able to put this on a job that's out on top of the board, and it's going to say, hey, this job is for me and only for me, which means now no one else can complete that job. However, the thing is, you may not fill any other jobs until you do that job. So you're going to get some of these. They're going to be mixed in with the management deck right there, and they're going to come into play. And you'll be able to lock down a job, but you can't fill any other jobs until you fill that job. So that's one new addition to the game. But the big new addition to the game, in my personal opinion, are the buildings. And if you played Lords of Waterdeep, think that. So essentially, when you play down these buildings, they're going to allow other people to put their meeple on there and do a special ability. So this one, discard a worker card, gain 1 skill cube matching each of the worker's skill types. Headhunter owner gains 2 thumbs. So that's pretty nice for both parties involved. Each player gives you 2 of the cards. Keep any 1 card, then Spies Are Us owner selects 1 card, then discard the remaining cards. So essentially, you're going to have a whole bunch of cards to look through, and you're going to get to keep whatever you want. But whoever bought this building is also going to get to do the same. And there's a lot of very different, unique special abilities in there. Some will deal with cubes and money, all sorts of different things. Now, the big thing about these is you're going to play them in front of you near the board so other people can play on them. And another thing is you're going to have to pay $1 rent at the beginning of each turn as an upkeep for these buildings. And that is what you're going to be getting new in Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement. Alrighty then, Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement from Daiscami Publishing. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, if you didn't like the original game, I don't think the expansion is going to add enough new things to really get you into the game. It adds the new buildings, which was something I really, really liked and I thought I really enjoy in the game. But other than that, there's nothing really here that's going to be too ground-shaking or earth-shattering that's going to be like, man, I gotta retry that game now. So if you didn't like the original, you're probably not going to get into the expansion too much. Also, with more players, it's going to add more playtime. That's pretty self-explanatory, though. I really shouldn't have to mention that, but, you know, just keep that in mind. The last con I had was that I wish there were some bigger jobs here. I really did. You know, I got this promo card that's like $10, and you got to get a bunch of cubes, and you become, I think it's like Tony Stark, Playboy, Philanthropist, something or other. And I like that an awful lot. I like working your way up to get those big jobs, and then, you know, boom, I got $10. But that's the only one. There's no other ones in there. Which is another con of this game. It's just more of the same. So for some people, you know, it's just more cube cards, more job cards, more of this, and the buildings are really the only new thing, along with the contract exclusiveness, but that didn't really come into play too terribly often. So, moving on to the pros, I enjoyed worker placement. It's on my shelf, and Cash is King is going to it's going to keep the game on my shelf a little bit longer. For the obvious reason, for me personally, is it adds 3 more players. And I love the fact that it adds 3 more players, because once you get to that number 7, and I hate that number 7, it's like, oh, we want to do the Resistance, we want to do Coup, we want to do 7 Wonders, we want to do a party game. There's just so few great games to play at 7 players, and now you'd be like, oh, you guys want to play like a gamer game? Let's play this. It's a worker placement game. I'd be like, yes! I just love when they add more players to just about any game, especially with this game, because if you know what you're doing, and I think most people do know how to play worker placement games pretty well, this doesn't add too terribly amounts of length of time. It's not like you're adding an extra hour when they add 2 extra players, which I like quite a bit. I also like the humor in this game originally, and the expansion has more of that same humor, which I'm a big fan of humor in our hobby, because too often there's no humor, or when they attempt humor, it just fails. But I actually enjoy the humor in this game, and it comes across in your workers and in your jobs, and I like that an awful lot. I like the fact, and this is a weird compliment, that this was made on Kickstarter, and the expansion was made on Kickstarter, so the board that you get in the base game is actually already ready to accommodate 8 players. So that was some really good foresight, which is good. Last but not least, I like the buildings. They add just this little teeny extra added element of strategy and choices to the game, and I think I really wish they would have been included with the base game, but having them now, I really like them a lot, and if they come out with another expansion, which probably won't happen, but I hope it does, I hope they get more buildings and just add a little bit more complexity to the game, because it is a very simple game, and I like that added little bit of complexity. So maybe on the second time, so maybe the first time you don't play with those, but the second time you're like, all right, now we're going to have these extra buildings, they're going to do this and that. They're by no means a new idea, but I like them, and they add a good deal, at least for me personally, to a game that I already enjoy. Overall, Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement. If you like worker placement, if you consistently have 6, 7, or 8 players, go buy it if you have worker placement. It is a must-own expansion for me personally, because I do hit that number of 6, 7, and 8 a lot. But for you, take a look at it, see if it is a must-own expansion for you. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below. Also in the comments below, let me know, what is a must-own expansion for you? For me personally, I would say, the first expansion for Pandemic, where it just gives you all those extra new jobs, and I really think that just really brings the game to its own. But let me know, what is your favorite expansion, or a game expansion that you think is a must-own in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.
That was the review for Cash is King, the expansion to worker placement. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bowers Game Corner.